Faces of the 518 podcast. It's your host, DJ Wiz Hoffa. I got my man in the building, DJ, producer, engineer, graphic designer, owner of JGI Media.
What up?
Capital Mixers.
What up?
Mixtapes. He was in the mixtape game heavy at one time.
DJ Green.
My man, DJ J Green, man. What up?
What's up, bro? How you doing?
I'm chilling, man. Couldn't be better, man. So, man, I figured, you being the owner of JGI Media, which is the facility that we're recording this podcast out, was only right that I had you on the show, man.
I appreciate it,
Talk
bro.
about the many things you got going on. I know you personally starting off in the mixtape game, doing mixtapes at one point in time. I don't think a lot of people know that. So tell me how you got you made your transition from mixtapes to being a studio and multimedia facility owner. Well,
the mixtapes actually wasn't the first thing. So I've been DJing for years. I started DJing when I was like 16. I got my first pair of turntables and I started doing like commercial DJ stuff like that. And then I started getting into like making beats and stuff like that, and then hooking up the studio. And then after a while, I was working on production stuff low key behind the scenes, and I switched over to doing the mixtapes after that, because like I was getting all the exclusive blasts from the labels and stuff like that. And
facts.
And, they send out like the MP3 wax, and then I started working with Coast to Coast and Shadyville DJs, so I was getting stuff through their pools, and started just getting all the exclusives. So I started dropping a mixtape every week called The Bottom Bitch, which was basically everything that came out that week that got leaked onto the mixtape, as well as like a few underground artists. So I always been fucking with the underground artists too. So that's basically what that was. Just because I could, you know what I mean? So
your background and love for the music game, like where did that come from? Who's your influences?
Honestly, my influences, bro, is like Onyx and like Wu-Tang and groups like that. Stuff that I grew up listening to. Obviously Biggie, even Tupac. Like, there's so many different influences. So even you could even go back all the way to like 1940s, like Glenn Miller Band or like stuff like that. As a DJ, because I was doing commercial work, it was like we had to be able to play all types of music. So right. It's more than just hip hop. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So if you want to ask my influences, Green Day, you know what I'm saying, Rage Against the Machine, people like that too. So it's bigger than just rap. Also with the funk, you know what I mean? I liked a lot of the funk music in the 70s and stuff like that too. So it's a big melting pool.
It's dope that you said Onyx, because a Wiz Hoffa fun fact is that Onyx is the reason why I've been bald since 16.
Been what?
I've been bald.
Oh, they blackballed you?
Nah, man. My hair, bro. My hair. I don't got no hair.
Bald.
Yeah.
Copy. What happened? You just headbanging and
Onyx
your hair flew off?
Man, I was in high school. I was about 17. Onyx came out, and that was just the wave, man. And I've been rocking like that for a long time, man. Yeah. Probably about 20 years. So just a little jewel right there. But so now transferring into engineering, I know you started out in the basement. Yep. Before you owned your own facility. Mm-hmm. And when you were doing that, who's some of the people that you got connected with, just doing things from your studio basement? Because I know you were down with
the studio, like in the basement, was crazy because a lot of my connections came from outside. You know what I mean? Like as far as DJing at the nightclub, I would meet people out there. Going on the road and doing production like at different studios down the city and this, that, and the third. I made connects that way, and I started mixing out the basement. But a lot of people that were coming there honestly was from Schenectady. So like a lot of artists from Schenectady were coming out there to record, and I don't know. I just what I'm saying, like even City, he's in the building today. Like people like that, they help spread the name. You know what I'm saying, and. Back then, it was just like it was grinding together. You know what I mean? They were starting off, I was starting off, and we just kept building.
At one time, you were working with Skull Gang. That was one of Jules Santana's.
Yeah. I was working with I think what I was telling you about GI and Fly the Limit, and we was going down the city working with Jewels, Black Adon, Skull Gang, Richmond Rab, Johnny Depp, and all them. So
he said Fly the Limit. Was that J7 in them?
J7 was part of the group. Yep.
Yeah, I used to work with J7, man. He's a good guy. Disappeared off the map. I don't know where that guy is.
Word.
So now, going full surface, I know that Capital Mixers, the brand, got popular when you had the studio, you know, across the street from the Times Union Center.
Yeah, it's actually weird because a lot of the people that I was recording in the basement start coming from Albany, Schenectady, Detroit, and driving all the way out there to CP to record. And then once I got South Pearl Street, I feel like I lost some of them clients, which is weird. There's an opposite effect. You think because I was closer, they would come there. But, you know, of course, I raised my prices, which is necessary for the commercial location I got. And, you know, that scared a few people off. But then after eventually everybody started coming back. But the transition was definitely weird. Plus, I was closed for a whole month before we opened up again. I took a trip to Italy, took some time off like that, and then came back full-fledged with the grand opening for South Pearl Street.
Being in a prime location like Pearl Street, across the street from the arena, was there any perks that came with that?
Yes and no. I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages. One disadvantage was the off-street parking. No off-street parking, so like people would be late to their session. If there was an event at the Times Union Center, there was no parking in the area. People had to like park miles away and walk to the studio. So it was bad. Also, like just little things like garbage removal, things like that were just harder downtown than they are here. So up here is real easy. We pull into our custom parking spots and everything's right here, and we don't have to. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to battle with no people. Plus, the crackheads downtown were crazy wild. Crazy wild. Like, you couldn't even walk outside. It'd be like, yo, you got a cigarette? Yo, you got $1? You know, all that stuff. So, I don't miss that at all.
Have you had any, like, major big artists come visit your studio?
I mean, you know, we had Deluxe meet and greet.
Facts.
And he's not major, but he's major in the hip-hop world. So, you know, you got to pay homage. And then we had Dej Loaf come through. Who else? I know there's a few other people. I mean, I mix a lot of tracks sent in. It's because we in Albany, people, unless they coming out here for a show or something real big, they're not coming out here that often. So that kind of holds me back a little bit.
So being a man of like all the many gifts you have, what do you really enjoy doing the most? Because I know a lot of people don't know this, but your beats is fire too.
Yeah, I mean, I miss making beats. I still make them like if I get the time, but we're so busy with everything else with the studios and developing the business that it kind of takes a back seat. Yeah, I miss making beats. I had some fire beats. I just gotta get back into it.
So do you like engineering better than producing? Like which one of your hats is like, you know,
what's my favorite thing for you to do? I'd have to say definitely mixing, because I mean that's what I do all day. So you know, you get good at it like riding a bike, you know what I mean? Like every other thing, this technology changes so fast that if you're not keeping up on each aspect of each thing that you're doing, but if you take a little time off, by the time you come back to that thing, it's like you got to learn more shit. You know what I'm saying? There's always a learning curve. So it's like engineering I do every day. I mix probably 8 to 10 tracks a day. So to me, that's my favorite thing because I'm comfortable. I can sit down. I know exactly what I'm doing, and that's like my main thing. Production's great. I like doing video editing too. But again, that's a whole, you know, everything works hand in hand. So like all the different things I do all correlate in one way or another. So you have, you know, the mixing and the video and the graphics, it's all similar in a way. You know what I mean? So once you get through the learning curve of one thing, you kind of can move around, you know. The
one thing I got to say is coming up in the 518, you know, we had recording studios. A lot of them were white owned, but you know, a lot of them didn't really cater to hip hop. And I feel like, you know, one of the things I give you kudos for is, you know, not to pigeonhole you, but you built a recording studio that caters to hip hop more specifically. So now what made you venture into all the other aspects of multimedia? Like you went from the Times Union, the spot across from the Times Union Center. Now you're in a 6,000 square foot facility. You got 9-10 rooms. So what's your ultimate vision with JGI Media, which is the what would you call that? The father company to Capital Mixers?
Yeah. My overall vision is kind of almost there now. Now that we're building the psych wall in the back in the film studio, and we have multiple studios running at the same time. We got the graphics and websites and stuff like that, and now we got the podcast studio that we're sitting in. I'm pretty much that was my plan, and now I'm gonna have to come up with a new plan. I guess the next step would be, with all the streaming and the stuff that we're setting up, is helping artists get exposure and actually pushing some of this content that we're creating, because a lot of artists come in here and they got dope music, and there's so much dope talent in the 518, and the only thing that we're missing is an industry and an outlet for what we're doing out here. So if we can help expose artists and get them the recognition they deserve, then we might be able to build something better for the 518. So that's the next step, you know.
Now, 518 Faces of 518 podcast is also gonna be used as a vehicle to teach too, and I would like to know, just as like one of the top engineers in the city who you run across a lot of artists, what type of jewels can I give some artists? Like, what, as far as being able to handle themselves more professionally, what are some of the things you see as an engineer which may be different than what other people see, because it's, you know, it's a different angle of the business? What type of things do you see going on? What type of effery do you see going on that could hinder artists?
But at this point, it's not even about the music, bro, because there's so much dope music. It's that they need to work on their foundation work. You know what I mean? Their structure. And that, by saying that, I mean like as setting themselves up as a business and learning how to get a return from their investments. You know, because you could sit there and spend money on your music all day and never turn it around and be able to make a profit off it. And then you're just spending money. But if you put money in to something and you have a plan on how you can get some money back off it, now you're investing. You know what I mean? It switches from spending to investing. So some of these artists need to go back to the drawing board with their actual foundation. You know what I mean? They got the dope music, they got presence, they got all that stuff, they got fans. They need to find a way to monetize their stuff so they can continue to put out material and not have to fund it out of their own pockets, and have their fans actually support them. You know what I mean? Because it's great when you say, yo, I got 1,000 songs and they fire. I'm like, yeah, but how many can you put on iTunes? How many can you actually legally sell? How much can you do?
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? So they need to work on that part. And other than that, there's like I said, there's so much dope talent. They just need to get it together and stop doing it to impress people, and do it more for, you know, to actually create something for their self and their longevity in the music game.
And you got some of the best coming through here. Who's some of your favorite artists to record? I mean, artists that you actually really enjoy their music.
So many, bro. I can't even start naming names. There's a lot.
And they know who they are. If they don't get mentioned. Oh
man, because like
you can't give me three
people I love recording, man. Let's see. It's so hard to pick between everybody, but definitely working with P. Because Pacino, he come in, he got that old New York sound he's bringing back. That's definitely nostalgic to me, so I like doing that type of music. Let's see who else I work with. My homie A1 Gunner, I love working with him. He's like family. He's young boy and he's doing his thing, pushing his music hard. So I like to see that, you know, he's investing in his clothing line and he's invested in himself and he's taking trips and he's doing what's necessary to get yourself out in the game. So I respect that. And let me see who else. You said three? I'm trying to think 3 people come to mind. Because there's so many, bro. I mean, like, you talking singers, we talking rappers, like, there's so many. But no, honestly, I like working with everybody. And everybody brings different styles and techniques. So, like, really it's a pleasure to do everybody's music. As long as they're not coming in here with no talent, like, coming in here and expecting me to do all the work for them. You know what I mean? So...
Now you kind of known for a particular mixing style. Your actual mixing itself has its own brand. Like me, as you know, a person that works with a lot of artists in the 518. You know, people let me hear stuff. You know, I put it in my computer. It says G Mix.
Yep.
And G Mix itself has become a brand. And I see recently you turned G Mix into a podcast.
Yes, sir.
So what is actual? Explain to me behind the G Mix, and then what made you transition that into a podcast?
Well, what happened with G Mix is basically at first I would just mix the shit and that was it. But then I started hiring other engineers at the studio. And I was giving them sessions as well. So now when we're organizing the computer or whatnot, or we trying to keep track of who's working with certain clients, we would put the initial in front of the word mix just to know who did the session. You know what I mean? So I started putting G Mix, so it was green mix, you know, in front of the sessions. And then they caught on. And people, I thought, you know, when they rename the tracks or they take it home or whatever, they're going to take off the G Mix and name it.
Which they should, but they don't.
They don't, but it's fine. You know, I could be like them other engineers or producers and put tags on everything, but I don't feel like that's, you know, a lot of people who hear the sound can recognize most of the time. And it's, you know, a lot of people trying to duplicate that sound too. So it's like it kind of got its own rep already. But then what happened is after we built the podcast studio, I was inspired about podcasting, which I never listened to a podcast ever. You know what I'm saying? It's not really. I'm just so busy. I don't have the time to sit there and listen. To me, I always thought it was just people rambling, talking, whatever. But so I decided to start doing the G-Mix show, which was basically tracks that we mixed throughout the week, and then have some of the artists I work with in the studio come through and do interviews, so that way we can kind of give some light to these artists that what I'm saying, have this dope talent. And again, there's no other real shows like that around here. I know you're doing the Faces of 518, and that's going to be like, different like business owners and stuff like that. This is strictly exclusive to people that work in the studio with me. So you can't buy your way into the show. You can't send me your music. You can send it for the competitions we do. So you can send in your tracks to gmixpodcast at Gmail, and if I pick it, then you can win some free studio time. But other than that, it's everything that's done in the studio within that week and artists that I've been working with. So.
And you giving them an opportunity that a lot of them never had to just get their first interviews. I think that's dope, man.
Yeah, it's worked. I busted a few cherries. A few people came in here and never did an interview, and it's cool. You know what I mean? Because I'm new to it too, and I'm still nervous as an interviewer and being that person because that's not really my style. So it works. It's building me up as far as getting more comfortable being in the public light. Because I've always been a force of the 518. I don't know if I've ever been a face of the 518 too much. Like, even if you know me, you know. You know what I'm saying?
Anybody who's influential and important in the 518 is a face of the 518. That's why you're the first interview, bro.
No, that's facts. That's facts. But again, I'm very, very reserved about being, public.
You like to play the back.
I like to play the back. You know what I'm saying? I like to smoke my weed and chill in the back.
So do you feel like you've capped off in the 518? Like, would you expand? Like, what would be your future plans for expansion if it wasn't here?
Well, I feel like I capped off as far as the studios being booked because we be turning down sessions. We have so many sessions hitting us. So we're capped as far as the studio aspect, but as far as the music video aspect of us getting back into doing videos, and as far as the film studio, psych wall, and podcasting, no, we're not. We're just getting started. So we do have all those aspects to build up. If I had to do anything else to expand JGI, it would be out of state. It would, or even in New York City, or maybe down south or California, like an office out that direction, which I might have in the works. I've been talking to a few of my peoples out there, and we're talking about setting up something like that. But then, my engineers out here will be running this spot, and I'd have to go out there and build up there and then get engineers out there. So, just trying to expand the brand in those senses.
From what I know, not only are you have one of the more distinctive styles of mixing in the 518, but you also one of the fastest mixers. I think that's why a lot of people like coming to you. Like, how did you, how'd you get so fast, man?
It's repetition, man. It's like riding a bike. If you train every day for anything, that you're gonna get good at it. So every day I mix at least 5 records a day. So when you start mixing like that, you start learning like every aspect of the gear, like your compressors, your equalizers, and each aspect. So it's like it becomes easier because you've worked through problems that you might have with a mix, or you've seen this before because of your experience. So really it's experience. If you want to say I'm experienced in mixing fast because I'm on the clock, and we're not we're probably one of the highest studios in the 518. So people don't want to come in here and watch me twiddle my thumbs for the prices that they're paying. So I made sure to accommodate to that. We still got to get what we're worth, but at the same time, we don't want to compromise too much quality. So what's the best way to do? Give the people the bang for their buck. So, and by mixing fast and being able to do that, and also like some of our, like a lot of the templates that I use are custom made, so we know those inside out. We don't buy them off online. We build our own templates. We, we run all our own wiring, patch base, solder wires, and speakers if they break, stuff like that. So it's true engineer stuff. You know what I mean? It's a lifestyle. It's not just like, oh yeah, during the day I go cut hair and then I come over and I mix at night. It's like, that's all we do.
Listen, now everybody knows in the 518 that I'm big on 518 artists actually having their own production, because a lot of cats, they come to the studio, they want you to download something from YouTube. You ask them who produced their record. They're like, I got it from YouTube. A question that I wanted to ask you is, will you ever get back to the production? Because I know a lot of people have never heard your beats, but I've actually heard some pop stuff that you did for Clear Promise. I've heard, you know, other things here and there in the past. I heard a recent one you did for Tony Louis. Like, do you have a plan to start flooding the market with the production again, or is it just something like you get to it when you get to it?
I'll get to it when I get to it. Because, like I said, there's so many things. And then there's a lot of dope producers out here, too, bro. Because the thing is this, right? You can't do everything, and you can't do everything all the time. Like, you can do everything, and I might be a good producer here and there. But if I'm not in my zone for that type of stuff, I'd rather hand it to someone like you or somebody who's practicing all the time. You know what I mean? I'm not going to try to disappoint nobody and be like, yeah, let me make you a beat and then take 3 months to do it. So when I feel ready to sit down and I'm inspired again to make music, then that's when I'm going to sit down and make music. You know what I mean? You can't force somebody to be inspired. You know what I mean? That's just the way it goes. Like, I'm not going to make you the best beat that I can make if I'm not feeling like making a beat at that moment. So that's kind of with me, how it is. Like with the mixing, it's autopilot. Because I do it every day, all day. If I was making beats every day, all day, then I could probably sit down and do the same thing. But I've been rusty ever since my son was born. I've been fall back from you know, I got my daytime just locked up. I have less hours that I used to have. So now the hours that I have is booked out. So it's like I don't have that free time to sit down and, you know, and do beats anymore.
I'm not going to keep you too long, but do you think somebody from the 518 can actually make it in the music industry? And what do you think is our biggest downfall, the biggest thing that's stopping us from getting over that hump?
Well, of course, it's anybody can make it in the music industry. You just got to have the right formula, you know. But the biggest thing in the 518 is definitely the lack of unity. You know what I'm saying? And too many different cliques and too many people trying to
cut each other's throat.
Yeah, it's cutthroat, crabs in a bucket. Rather than bigging each other up like they do in some of the southern states, you know, where they actually play local music on the radio and they have their own little industries that they build within their communities, and that helps push music. You know, if it's hot in the community and the community stands behind it, it helps build the artists up, revenue, and it helps give it a push worldwide. But if there's no help in the community, it's like, you know, who's listening to this music? Because the only people from the 518 is really going to fuck with the people from the 518 and understand what the hell they talking about sometimes. Like, you know, so I have people come through here and make references on tracks, and they sometimes take shots or they do this and that, but nobody outside of the 518 is going to understand that. I understand it because I know exactly who they've been talking about or whatever, but they just need to make that hit record, and they need to stay consistent. You know what I mean? And anybody can make it.
I'm going to co-sign that and say definitely lack of unity in the 518. There's been so many times when, you know, I've tried to put certain things together, put certain individuals together, and there's always one person that don't get along with one person, and it just makes it's like,
and it's over nothing. It's over the dumbest shit ever.
Nobody mama got shot. Yep. Nobody got hit.
It ain't no real beef.
Nobody. They didn't F your baby mother. Like, what's the issue here? It don't be nothing about nothing. It be he say, she say most of the time.
Yeah, it's unnecessary. But, you know, it's probably like that everywhere. If they could harness the drama, too, they could turn that into something. There ain't nothing wrong with a little bit of, you know what I'm saying, a little bit of drama and beef and rap. You know, it helps grab attention. But they're not even monetizing that. They just run around being salty.
How many hours you put in a week to this, man? Well, like, you always busy, man. I could barely even get a sit down with you, and I would consider myself somebody that's closely in the circle. How many hours do you? What type of work ethic does it take to be where Jay Green is at?
It's an all day thing. From answering phones and doing all that stuff as well to running the business, and then I do about 50 hours a week in studio time, just me personally. Doesn't count any of the other engineers here, Ambi or Zach or anybody who's doing sessions. So that's 50 hours just me. And then on top of that, we got the G-Mix podcast, which took my day off, which was supposed to be Sundays. I gave that up. We're here right now. So gave that up to do the podcast for everybody. And then we have... what else? So we do photo shoots, we do graphics, we do websites. I do a lot of that during the day when I have my son, because I have him 9 to 5 every day, or 8:30 to 5:30 technically. So during the day, I do stuff like the graphics and things that I can do on my laptop. You know what I mean? Even from the crib or whatever. And then we come in and do sessions all night, sessions on the weekends, and whenever we can fit them in.
I had my daughter in the studio with me yesterday, man. She's born and raised up in this thing. Shout out to Amaya. Shout out to Samadia. I see you got a young son too, man. Is he into it yet?
Well, he's not even, he'll be 2 next month, so he's still real young, but he's definitely got the flair. I see he'll sit, you know, I bring him in the office and he sees the gear and that's his first attraction. So, and you know, my whole philosophy is I'm not going to push him into music. He's got to naturally want it. If he's interested in it, then I'll help him. But I'm not going to be like, you have to do this because I did it type shit. I don't think that's good to, you know what I'm saying, force your kids to follow in your footsteps. But if you inspire them and they want to follow, that's great. You know what I mean? So he definitely has a knack for it. He's just trying to play the keyboard and sing, and he's not even 2. So, you know, I don't know. I'm not around too many kids to know where their levels are, but I think that he's pretty intelligent for that.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you gracing the podcast and being our first guest, man. You definitely one of the most influential guys in the 518 behind the scenes. And, like, I've seen your business grow from the bottom to the top. I'm definitely inspired by what you do. And, you know, you always got my support. Make sure y'all check out the G-Mix podcast. Tell them a little bit about that, where they can find that, airing that.
We got the domain gmixpodcast.com. So if you go there, it basically redirects to my website, which is djjgreen.com. And right on the front page, I have the latest podcast interview as a video, and then the latest podcast as a stream that you can listen to the whole show. It's also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
And let me just pay my bills real quick before we get out of here. So this episode of Faces of the 518 is sponsored by Jabs Barbershop. That's in Colony.
Shout out to Jabs Barbershop.
1839 Central Ave. You could go there for your hot towels, your razor cuts, you know, fades. They do it all up there. If you're a person that lives in the Schenectady area and you tired of going all the way downtown Albany, or if you live in Colony and you tired of going to Schenectady, Albany, he's right in the middle there, man. Go check out my man J. Allen Barbershop. 839 Central Ave. He'll lace you up. It's right in the plaza there, near Vly Road. And your boy Wiz Hoffa signing off. Jay Green, thanks for coming through.
No, thanks for having me, bro. Appreciate it.
And we'll see y'all next week.